Welcome students, till now we have already discussed the important MCQs and important points which have been asked recently. Today we will just focus on the images, right? Let's just concentrate on the images aspect from kidney, right? So the first is normal glomerulus. You must be all aware how a normal glomerulus looks like. Let me just zoom into the structure and you can identify, yes, you can identify the glomerulus, you can identify the Bowman space, and you can identify the mesangial cells and the capillary lumens, right? So this is the normal glomerulus. Let's move to the next image which have been asked multiple number of times in your exams, right? What is this? This is black and white image. One thing you can see from this image, that something which is black and white is electron microscopy. So you can know that this is electron microscopy which has been asked number of times, and it shows effacement of food processes. Okay, let me zoom into the structure and you can see the effacement of the food processes, the flattening or the loss of the food processes which is seen in minimal change disease, right? Is it seen only in minimal change disease? No, it can also be seen in membranous nephropathy and diabetic nephropathy, but it is the main feature which will help you to identify minimal change disease, because in minimal change disease you all know that there is no important finding in case of light microscopy and no immunofluorescent deposits. Electron microscopy is the only way in which you can see the effacement of food processes, which is a feature of minimal change disease. Whereas in membranous nephropathy, yes, there is effacement of food process, but along with that there are number of other features on light microscopy and immunofluorescence which will help you to get to the diagnosis of membranous nephropathy. Clear? So minimal change disease, let's just look at the important points which you should know on the basis of images aspect. Okay, so number one, I told you food process effacement. Okay, food process effacement is a feature seen on electron microscopy, which is a very important feature to diagnose minimal change disease, because on light microscopy there is no change. Minimal change means there is no change on light microscopy, and on immunofluorescence there are no deposits. So electron microscopy is the only way to diagnose minimal change disease, and there is seen food process effacement. Okay, number one. Second thing, yes, we have already discussed that it has a very good prognosis with treatment. Okay, excellent response to steroid therapy. Okay, next. Okay, so pathogenesis we have already discussed in our videos: respiratory infections, prophylactic immunization, and some atopic disorders. Next image, let's have a look at this image, and you can compare this image with the normal glomerulus. So you can see definitely this glomerulus is not normal, one thing you can identify. And let me just zoom into the image. This is glomerulus. You can identify the architecture of glomerulus and you can see these sclerotic areas. You can identify these sclerotic areas which is confined to a particular segment of the glomerulus. Is it present throughout the glomerulus? No, in fact only in the segment of the glomerulus you can see these sclerotic segment. That means if there are number of glomeruli, only few will be affected, and that too only a segment will be affected. So that is a case of focal segmental glomerulosclerosis. Very important. Focal segmental glomerulosclerosis, only a segment is involved and only few of the glomeruli will be involved in biopsy. So focal segmental glomerulosclerosis, sclerosis is confined to a segment and only few of the glomeruli. Okay, so I hope this image is also clear. So we can compare it to the normal glomerulus and I can see these sclerotic segments. Okay, so we can compare the two and you can identify that condition as FSGS. Okay, next. So only few important points just to brush up your knowledge. Yes, two important differences which can help you differentiate from minimal change disease. Number one, it has a poor response to treatment, unlike minimal change disease. Unlike minimal change disease where there was an excellent response to steroid therapy and there was the presence of selective proteinuria, whereas in FSGS it is non-selective proteinuria. Okay, so these two important differentiating points we have already discussed. You should remember reflux nephropathy, HIV infection with FSGS and a collapsing variant which has got a bad prognosis. Okay, so these are all the important MCQs we have already discussed. Let's just focus on the images. So looking at the genetic basis, NPHS1 encodes nephrin and is responsible for congenital nephrotic syndrome of Finnish type, whereas NPHS2 encodes podosin and is responsible for steroid resistant nephrotic syndrome. Next, this is a glomerulus, and you can see this is not a normal glomerulus, and one thing I can see very well in this image is the pinkish color, right, pinkish thickened basement membrane. This is Parr stain, right, which can see the thickening of the basement membrane. Everybody can visualize the thickening of the basement membrane with the help of a Parr stain. Yes, so number one, if you all remember PAS, P for PAS and P for pink, right? So Parr stain will stain this basement membrane as pink, and you can see this thickening of the basement membrane, which is a feature of which nephropathy? Membranous nephropathy. Easy to remember. Membranous nephropathy, there is thickening of basement membrane. Yes, so thickening of basement membrane on light microscopy, and with the help of Parr stain we can better visualize this thickening as pinkish color, pinkish colored thickened basement membrane. Yes, this is number 2. You have to identify this is silver stain, and you have to remember one important term associated with membranous nephropathy, that is spike and dome appearance. Spike and dome appearance seen on silver stain, and we can better visualize on zooming the image, and I want to show you these beautiful spikes. So this is spike and dome appearance seen in membranous nephropathy. These spikes are due to basement membrane, and the immunofluorescent deposits are lucent areas, right? The immunofluorescent deposits are lucent areas, whereas these projections or spikes are due to basement membrane. So this is spike and dome appearance seen in membranous nephropathy. So we have already seen, yes, we have already seen the thickening of the basement membrane, which can be visualized better with the help of Parr stain. So this is thickening of basement membrane seen on Parr stain number 1, whereas on silver stain, spike and dome appearance, right? We have already discussed, yes, effacement of food processes can be also seen in membranous nephropathy, but the commonly asked question is spike and dome appearance seen in membranous nephropathy. Next, so this is glomerulus. Is it normal? Definitely it is not normal, number 1. Number 2, you can see 3 of the important things. Number 1, it is a hypercellular glomerulus. It is a hypercellular glomerulus. Number 2, you can see the lobulated appearance. Lobulated appearance, right? So let me just zoom into these 2 important structures. You can see the lobulated appearance. These are lobules. Yes, lobulated appearance due to proliferation of mesangial cells and deposition of mesangial matrix. So you can see this pinkish mesangial matrix and the lobulated appearance of this hypercellular glomerulus. Yes, so lobulated architecture along with increased deposition of mesangial matrix in a hypercellular glomerulus is a feature of membranoproliferative glomerulonephritis. Next, you can see what is this? What is this? This is silver stain. This is silver stain number 1. And important feature asked under membranoproliferative glomerulonephritis is splitting of basement membrane. So very frequently question is asked, splitting of basement membrane is seen in membranoproliferative glomerulonephritis. And what do you mean by splitting of basement membrane? Let me just show you the structure. And you can see, yes, you can see splitting of basement membrane. This is basement membrane visualized with the help of a silver stain, and you can see splitting of the basement membrane. I hope you are clear with the concept of splitting of basement membrane, which is seen on silver stain in case of membranoproliferative glomerulonephritis. Yes, so 2 important features we have already discussed. Large hypercellular glomerulus number 1, right, due to proliferation of mesangial cells and increased mesangial matrix deposition, yes, and the duplication of the basement membrane or splitting of basement membrane is seen in membranoproliferative glomerulonephritis. Okay, so this type 1, type 2, type 3 we have already discussed in detail. We have discussed a question on type 2 or dense deposit disease, but let me just concentrate on the picture aspect, right? So subendothelial deposits are seen in type 1 MPGN, In type 2 MPGN, it is intramembranous deposits, whereas in type 3, the deposits are within subendothelial, subepithelial and globular basement membrane. Okay, so these are two important points. Let me just show you with the help of this image. Type 1, these are subendothelial deposits in type 1, whereas intramembranous deposits in type 2 MPGN, right? So in type 2 MPGN, the deposits are present intramembranous. Clear? Next, so is it a normal glomerulus? No, it is not a normal glomerulus. There is increased mesangial proliferation and increased mesangial matrix deposition. Yes. Now, if I tell you that this is immunofluorescence, you can see this beautiful green type of positivity. And if I tell you it is positive for IgA mesangial deposits, So that is an example of IgA nephropathy. IgA nephropathy, as the name suggests, easy to remember, the mesangial deposits are positive for IgA, and you can see the positivity under immunofluorescence for IgA. So these are IgA mesangial deposits, in the mesangium area, which is showing the diagnosis of IgA nephropathy. Okay. Next, IgA nephropathy, it is also called as Berger disease, and the important point you have to remember is the positivity of IgA in the mesangial regions. We have already seen the IgA immunofluorescence deposits in the mesangial region. Yes, recurrent hematuria, most common cause worldwide for glomerulonephritis. But let's come to the image aspect. Mesangial proliferation with increased matrix deposition and the IgA positivity in the mesangial region. Yes, IgA positivity in the mesangial region. Next, crescentic glomerulonephritis. Let's just focus into this glomerulus, and you can see it is not normal. Number one, everybody can see that it is not a normal glomerulus. Yes, and you can see a crescent shaped structure which is predominantly comprising of parietal epithelial cells. We have already discussed the MCQs. Let's just focus on this term crescent. Okay, that means a half moon shaped structure, and let me just zoom into the structure and see this crescent area. This crescent or half moon structure can help you identify the image as crescentic glomerulonephritis. Clear? Next, this is immunofluorescence. Number one, you can identify. Can you identify this is positive? At least you can see this is positive. Third thing which you can see from this image is the linear positivity, right? This is not granular, it is positive and it is linear positivity. Let me just zoom into the structure and you can see the beautiful linearity of the positivity of immunofluorescence deposits, right? So this is yes, type 1, which is linear deposit seen in Goodpasture syndrome, whereas in type 2 it would have been a granular deposit, right? This is linear deposit, we have already seen in the image. Here it is granular in case of type 2, and in type 3 pauci-immune, right? It won't be having the positivity for the deposits, but this is positive, beautiful greenish positivity you can see, and you can see the linearity of positive immunofluorescence. So this is type 1 crescentic glomerulonephritis. So we have covered few of the important images from kidney, and we will further continue with the other important images, and you should be aware of all the important images because very frequently the questions have been asked where you have been given a history, an important point or clue towards the diagnosis along with the image. So I hope you are clear with all the images we have already discussed.